Have it. 10-minute rule motion. Ms. Diane Abbott.
Madam Speaker, I beg the Leader of the House to bring in a bill about workplace childcare. This bill would make it mandatory for employers over a certain size to make provision either for workplace creches or nurseries or some other sort of appropriate childcare provision. The 80s saw a very steep rise in the number of women with children under 5 going out to work. In 1981, they were 25% of the workforce, but in 1991, the number of women with children under 5 going out to work had nearly doubled to 43%. But it seems to me that this government has entirely failed to meet this challenge. In fact, this country has almost the worst record on childcare provision in the whole of Europe. Only Portugal has worse facilities. Now, I am not arguing that all women should go out to work or that workplace creches are a suitable form of childcare provision for every woman. I would argue that what women want is a range of provision, including community nurseries and also an enlightened tax regime which enables them to meet some of their childcare costs.
Exactly, and some men too.
And some men to meet some of their childcare costs. But I believe that a genuinely enlightened government looking to the needs of the labour force in the year 2000 and beyond would actually take up a positive policy position on the issue of workplace nurseries. Some members opposite may argue that if private individuals take a private decision to go out to work, it is up to them to make private provision for their childcare, and there is no role for government. On the contrary, I would argue that at the end of the day, the nation's children are the nation's responsibility. And what is more, good childcare, accessible to all, makes good practical sense. It makes good sense for children, because at the moment what we have in this country is a patchwork of childcare provision, and the access that children have to childcare depends on which part of the country they live in and how much money their parents have. It also makes good sense for children because members may have read of recent surveys in the United States which show that inner city children that are able to go to good childcare provision, preschool provision, those inner city children, as they grow up, do better in school and are much less likely to engage in crime and juvenile delinquency. And if we are serious in this House about the issues of law and order, I believe we should take seriously the role of preschool childcare in making people grow up to be law-abiding and fulfilled citizens. But good childcare also makes sense for mothers, but it enables women to go back to work, to use their skills and use their training. And perhaps even more important, good childcare makes sense for mothers because if there was proper childcare available in this country, including workplace nurseries, thousands of women currently dependent, millions of women currently dependent on social security could go back to work and stand on their own 2 feet. Good childcare makes good sense for companies because they will not be wasting money on training people and they will cut down their turnover. A recent survey revealed that the cost of replacing even a bank clerk can be as high as £5,000 when you add up the cost of advertising the post and the cost of training. And above all, Madam Speaker, good childcare makes sense for the nation because if we are to compete in a single European market in the 90s and beyond, we need to maximise our use of our human resources. And access to childcare is a way of enabling us to maximise our use of our female human resources who otherwise we are not able to make use of, because very many trained and skilled women, when they go back to work after maternity, have to take jobs which they are overqualified for, have to take part-time jobs simply because they cannot get good childcare. And above all, if we in this country are engaged in a debate about what we do about the millions of single-parent mothers dependent on social security, then we have to take the issue of childcare seriously. I put it to this House that living on social security experience, and very few people do it willingly. And if only this government was willing to facilitate a range of childcare, many millions of women would be able to go out to work and support themselves. I also think that irrespective of legislation, that the government has a much greater role to play around this issue of childcare. If you look at Whitehall, Whitehall has over 8,000 employees, 27 buildings, but only 2 workplace creches. And if you look at the House of Commons itself, the House of Commons has 116,000 square metres of space. It has 1,207 offices. It has 14 restaurants, 9 bars, another bar being built, and no creche. It seems to me that we as a House have ample facilities for drinkers, but nothing for children. It seems to me that the position of the House Commons Commission recently saying there is no space for a creche is patently absurd. If we have all these thousands of square metres of space and hundreds of offices, I do not see why room cannot be found for a creche. It is not a question of room, it is a question of understanding the issue and actually having the will to do something about it. The government has claimed throughout this debate that the issue of childcare can be left to the market. Well, of course, the market will never be able to provide childcare on the level and on the scale which the current demographic patterns require. And what is more, if childcare provision is left to the market, those inner-city children, working-class children who could most benefit from high-quality childcare will be denied access to it. And to give the lie to the government's position, the market, in the shape of employers, is now saying that they definitely believe the government has a role. In the last few weeks, major employers, including ICI, Rover and Shell, have set up a group called Employers for Childcare. They are committed to providing childcare, but they are also committed to calling on the government to take a lead, to play a role, to plan provision. The arguments against childcare provision very often come from people who have no responsibility for children and believe that it is something that can be brushed to one side. But I put it to the House this afternoon that as we look at the changing labour force, as we look at the increasing numbers of people with children under 5 going out to work, as we look at the need to compete in Europe, the number of workplace nurseries we currently have, only 300, is derisory. We all agree on this House, or we all should agree, on the need to invest for growth. And I put it to the House this afternoon that what more important, what more crucial investment could we make than investing in the nation's children and investing in their childcare. This bill, I believe, would play a role in providing a range of childcare. I believe women all over the country would very much welcome the government taking practical initiatives in this respect, and I beg leave to bring this bill forward.
The question is, does the honourable member have leave to bring in her bill? As many of their opinions say aye. Contrary, no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Mr Malcolm Chisholm, Mr Alan Simpson, Mr Paul Flynn, Mr Tony Banks, Mrs Helen Jackson, Miss Alice Mann, Mrs Barbara Roach and myself, Madam.
Diane Abbott. Diane Abbott.
Workplace childcare bill.
Second reading what day?
Friday.
Friday. Tom Clark.
On a point of order,